It seems like pretty much every week there are two stories or op-eds that have to be published. One is that Joe Biden has no regrets about his presidency, and the other is listing all the regrets he has. And we sort of ping pong back between those. Well, today we're on the regrets part. He does appear to have some actual regrets from his presidency. And one of the big ones is something that, again, keeps ping ponging. Does he think that he should have ran? And I have read very confident, no, he thinks, Harris gave it her all. He has no regrets about that. And then others saying, no, he definitely thinks he could have whooped Trump's behind. And that's what we've got today. So Biden and some of his aides apparently still believe that he should have stayed in the race despite his debate performance and the low poll numbers. Biden and these aides have told people in recent days that he could have defeated Trump. The aides say the president has been careful not to place the blame on Harris or her campaign, but he thinks that he could have beaten Trump. He also admits that he thinks he should have been less humble about some of his accomplishments as president. He says he was stupid for not putting his own name on the pandemic relief checks his administration sent out in 2021, which obviously Donald Trump did. I prefer presidents not doing that sort of stuff. I kind of side with Biden, although pragmatically maybe he's right that he should have actually done it. Maybe most importantly and kind of new for me is, in private, he apparently is now saying he should have picked someone other than Merrick Garland as Attorney General, complaining about the Justice Department's slowness under Garland in prosecuting Trump and its aggressiveness in prosecuting Biden's son, Hunter. Which I definitely agree. Merrick Garland, I think, changed the course of America in not even slow rolling those investigations, glacial rolling those investigations. Biden also acknowledges his poor performance during the presidential debate, which I don't think we even need him to acknowledge. We all get that that was not a good performance. But so some of that isn't super new, but some kind of is about Merrick Garland. And apparently they're sticking to he could have beaten Trump if it had been him. What do you make of all this?
I would be surprised if he doesn't think he would have beaten Trump, but that doesn't mean anything. And so I don't know that he would have beaten Trump, and I don't think anybody could have beaten Trump when we see the drubbing that the vice president got. I think that I do know that people in the White House, people I spoke to on off the record, said to me that there are higher ups in the White House that were trying to convince him not to run as long ago as the summer of 2023. And he didn't do it then, and that would have given the vice president and anybody else a less truncated time to run for president. Doesn't matter. He's going to be the oldest president leaving office, and his biographer, whoever that is in there talking to people already. And we're going to get these stories, and he's going to be frank with people about it. It's going to be an interesting chapter in that biography. But I would be surprised if he didn't think that he could have won. But that's because he's the only person who has beaten him, and he saw how poorly Harris did. But I still don't, I don't think it matters. I think that the most important thing there and the lesson to be learned is exactly what you talked about with signing those checks and the politics of it and the messaging of it. He did not talk about his victories enough. He was not a good mouthpiece for his own administration, both for physical reasons and the reasons that wasn't his game in this White House's game. And I think that was a huge mistake. You have to be better on message. The Democrats know that. In retrospect, Biden knows that too. And that so he still would have been the candidate who wasn't able to articulate their victories. And there were many victories.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's all these things that we could list that he should have done, but he couldn't really. He should have talked about his victories, but he couldn't really. Not to say that he couldn't have done a speech, but it wouldn't have been Obama talking about, his victories or whatever. He didn't have that capacity at that point, the vigor, the strength, the drive. He just didn't have it. And I'm curious. So you mentioned having the less truncated time. Do you think that potentially, if we could run it back and if he'd left in 2023 and we'd had something like a primary, that there was a chance?
I do. I think that there would have been a selection process and more Democrats would have been invested in it. And there would have been a different kind of campaign it would not have just been, I think the truncated campaign forced Harris to say, we are joy, we are happiness, we are love, and we are peace. And they are all this mess and chaos. Well, that wasn't enough, but it certainly wouldn't have been. It was able to sustain, they were able to sustain that because they weren't Biden and they weren't Trump. But had it been longer, there would have been a time to talk about vision and ideas, to have a selection process for a vice president, and especially to have had a selection process that was played out for whoever the nominee would have been. And it would have brought many more voices and ideas into it, because what happens is whoever the candidate is taking pieces of all the people they ran against and putting that into their message as well and trying to build a bigger tent. It was too difficult for him.
I'm gonna end on I guess a positive note coming out of a situation that almost nothing is positive about. Like I guess I mentally, like, considering my job, think about the fact that he's about to become president and Harris lost less than you would think. I like blot it out. I do micro blackouts in my mind to not think about that, because I still remember how confident I felt, and when I saw the result, I just remember thinking about my daughter and everything. So I don't want to delve back into that dark place again. But I guess one good thing is there were all of these postmortems about Harris's loss and all these attempts to explain how exactly what everyone believed was the reason she lost. But there has not been like a consistent, she shouldn't have run. There's not a big, no, we erred, they should have just left Biden in. And I was very worried that if she lost, that would be the takeaway, that was a terrible decision and how dare everyone who advocated for it. But I haven't really seen a lot of that. And that, at least, I guess, is positive, because I think that would have been 100% the wrong lesson to take from it. So instead, people are just taking 100 other smaller wrong lessons, but not that one, at least.
Right, and they're all right. Everybody's right. There's a little bit of truth in all the messages and all the opinions about it. Everybody's got, anyone who shares an opinion is probably a little bit right, but it doesn't matter. It's onward now.
When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?